Welcome to The Magnetic Voice, here on the Experience of the Soul podcast channel, a show where speakers and singers learn how to be more magnetic and align their voices to the divine within. Today, episode 39, Transformation Dressed as Trauma. And now your host, Monique McDonald.
Hello and welcome to the Magnetic Voice podcast. My name is Monique McDonald and I am here with Shannon Kropf. Hey, Shannon.
Hi, Monique. It's great to see you, virtually on camera.
It's great to be seen and heard.
Yes.
Our podcast today is called Transformation Dressed as Trauma. Now, Shannon, you know that I lost someone very dear to me last week, and it stopped me dead in my tracks. It really did. Mm-hmm. And for those of you listening who don't know, she was my the daughter of my very dear friend from high school that I've known since before she was born, and she was only 30 years old and died because of complications of sickle cell.
Right.
And as a lot of us know, whenever we experience a loss, it brings back all the other losses, right? And the last week or so, I've just been in the throes of that. Mm-hmm. And just noticing old patterns of traumas from the past showing up, coming to the surface. And I started to get really bogged down and stuck in these old thoughts that I hadn't thought. You know, I'm a thought worker.
Right.
I'm a reframer. I know how to turn things around, but I just kept getting bogged down, and it was like my whole field of vision was just filled with loss and doubt and fear. And it was unspeakable, you know, to think of this beautiful, and she was just beautiful, this beautiful angel. And of course, I had been asked to sing for the funeral, which I have to say took every bit of training and all the tools, all the tools in the toolbox came out. And I realized that to get through it, I had to sort of unplug a little bit, right?
Right.
Because my intention was to be the voice of comfort. And the voice of comfort can't be sobbing uncontrollably, unable to breathe, let alone sing.
It can, but it's maybe not the most comforting thing the comforting voice comfort of comfort could be.
Yeah. And it was, I'm very grateful to say that I was able to be there and be that voice of comfort. And we tucked her in, if I can say it that way. And now we know that she's safe and there is no more pain and no more sickle cell.
Yeah.
And that just brought up for me this whole idea of these kinds of traumas that happen, this getting bogged down by the sadness and the grief and the what ifs, those questions we tend to ask ourselves in the presence of that kind of loss.
Absolutely.
And I was not happy with Monique.
Oh.
I was like, wait, we're just going to keep doing this? We're just going to keep sitting here in this stuck
Right.
kind of only letting negative thoughts speak,
Right.
really unplugging from the light. And I realized it was kind of a willful act. And you know, Shannon, I really try not to judge. And I'm really good at not judging others. Not so good.
I was just going to ask. How's that judging going when it's pointing at you, Monique?
Yeah. I went through it.
Yeah.
There was, those moments of old patterns, like I was reaching for the old things that comfort, like food, and not the good ones, right?
Right.
Like food. And I was probably drinking more alcohol than I should have been. And really just, getting binge watching Netflix and just, I was going through it. And all the while aware of the thoughts that I think those behaviors were trying to avoid.
Right.
Right? Because they were harsh. Like, what am I doing here? How is it possible that this beautiful young girl is no longer here? Like, what? And then it was like, and the pandemic,
and this, and then this, and this,
and the Ukraine, and inflation. And it was just like compounding.
Yes.
And
I have been there. Oh, yeah.
And then finally, it came to me. It occurred to me. What if this experience is here to clear all of the existing limits and expectations? Right? So if I'm not bogged down in all of this, what if this is a moment to bury the self that no longer serves in order to create new patterns and make way for new blooms?
Well, that sounds better.
Doesn't that sound better? And then I was thinking, well, we are in April. And I know that it's different down there in Florida than it is up here in the north, but it's quite muddy. A lot of rain.
Okay.
And gray days, which of course was helping the whole, what we were talking about before. And so I really started to think about this, because you and I have had these conversations about, loss and what a toll it takes. And how dark it gets.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
And yet, what if those traumas, that darkness, the mud, all the things that we're judging ourselves for, are literally the ground in which the seeds are being planted?
Right.
What if that is the place where transformation starts? And then, of course, I'm me. So then I was like, oh my goodness. So like those dark things are getting buried, and they are actually, fertilizing the soil so that it can receive.
Right.
And then I just was like, wow.
So it's kind of like spiritual compost.
Exactly.
It does some good in the end, which is great. Helps us grow. Can be dirty and messy and smelly and stick around for a long time.
Oh, so true. Dirty and smelly
Uh-huh.
and messy, and stick around for a long time. Yeah, and what started to come to me was I started to realize I was looking down. And then lift up thine eyes unto the hills from whence cometh your help. Started showing up in my thoughts, and it really was, that shift in perspective of those old cycles of I feel bad. I feel bad that I feel bad.
Mm-hmm.
I feel bad that I feel bad. So I'm going to then compound that with not eating well, numbing out in front of whatever is your device of choice, trying to numb or escape feeling bad for feeling bad.
Right. And then feeling bad for feeling bad about feeling bad.
And then, of course, those of us who are enlightened, we feel bad about feeling bad.
Exactly.
Because we should know better.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
And then I started to just look up and out of myself. And all of a sudden I realized, wow, there are sunny days in April too. And this whole idea started to occur to me of transformation dressed as trauma. And what if these dark moments in our lives really are the beginnings of transformation? What would that mean? And then I started thinking about this idea that we are all divine. I mean, to hear it, we've all heard it said that we are created in the image of the great creator, which means that we have the divine within us, even when we are in these dark moments.
Right.
Which is hard to remember.
It very much is.
It's so hard to remember because I feel so earthbound and bogged down, right?
Right.
And then I started to think about this idea of, when the divine expresses itself as a tree or a flower in nature, it doesn't do that to the exclusion of everything else. It's also sky. It's also sea. It's also the air we breathe. It's also all of us.
Right.
So when we're experiencing ourselves in these moments of trauma, how do we remember? How can we continue to remember that we're also divine? And that it's not one or the other.
Right. There's several Psalms, many of them, in fact, that kind of languish in this like, oh, woe is me, and I don't mean to make light of it. I've read them many times myself, but oh God, I just can't take this anymore. But they always flip at the end. They always say, and yet I will trust you. So there's this turning back to the divine. There's this point of saying, not I am worry, but I feel worry. Not I am darkness, but I feel darkness. And then trusting the divine to always be working that out, And we see it in the life of our way shower, Jesus, in the Garden of Gethsemane. The man is weeping and praying and, oh God, please don't let this happen. Please don't let this happen. Please don't let this happen. And then the same thing, that turning, and yet I will do your will. Your will for me is good.
Right.
So as I've been dealing with loss in my own life and, not even of a family member, thank goodness, but just what am I doing with my life? It's the transformation is happening right before my eyes. And the trauma that instigated it, interestingly, seems to be a pattern with me. So now, rather than being traumatized by it for a length of time, I am traumatized by it for a shorter length of time, and I recognize the pattern, and I know that it's going to be okay, and I can begin to embrace the divine, even from that place of darkness, saying, okay, I know what life as a spiritual being in a physical body is like. I know that it's dark sometimes, and I know that good is always being formed, even in darkness.
Oh, I love that.
And it kind of sucks.
Well, it does. It's not pretty. It's messy.
Yep.
It can be painful. And what I've noticed is that all of our efforts to avoid it really just prolong it.
It's true.
And I think the lesson here is that the divine is all of it.
Yeah.
And what if transformation is just dressed as trauma?
Yeah. Sometimes it has to be because we get comfortable and we don't move when we're supposed to move.
That's right. And
for whatever reason. We're comfortable,
right.
We're loyal, whatever it is.
We're stuck in a pattern
right.
that we may not even be aware of. And then the universe brings these events into our lives as a moment to clear all of our existing limits and expectations.
Absolutely.
So that all of a sudden we have to recreate, we have to redirect, we have to question everything that we understand ourselves to be.
Yes.
So that we can then remember who we truly are and whose we truly are.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for listening, and Shannon for being my partner here today. And if you'd like to talk more about transformation dressed as trauma or share any ahas or questions, please reach out at themagneticvoice.com and click on Transform with Monique. I can't wait to continue the conversation. So I invite you to get comfortable. And when you're ready, allow your eyes to close. And feel yourself in this moment. Nothing else matters. Nothing has come before this moment, and nothing will come after. There is only now. And I invite you to breathe, allowing your stomach to expand as you inhale. Pause for a moment full of the life force. Gently watch your stomach fall back towards your spine as you exhale. Releasing and letting go as you feel your body inhale. Pausing for a moment, full of the I am. Gently letting go and watching your stomach fall back towards the spine as you exhale. As we allow our deep, slow breaths to guide us, to gently rock us from the inside out. We know that breathing in this way lets our entire being know that we are safe. Right here, right now, we are safe. We choose to connect ourselves to the divine within and without. We know as we inhale that God is. And as we exhale, we know I am. Inhaling, God is. Exhaling, I am. Inhaling, God is. Exhaling, I am. In this moment, we claim our traumas, our old beliefs, those patterns that have kept us stuck in the past. We claim them with love. We stop avoiding them, ignoring them, pushing them away as bad and wrong. And we choose to embrace them. As we embrace them, we know that they are life itself. Even death reminds us that it is part of life itself. So in this moment, we choose to be all of it. We choose to be the dark, muddy ground and the clear blue sky. We choose to be the gnarled and ugly roots of the tree, as well as the blooms and the leaves, spreading ourselves open to the light of the divine. We claim it all now. We call it good. We allow ourselves to move freely back and forth without judgment. We allow ourselves. We understand ourselves to be human and divine. All at once, all together, always, forever, today and forever, we are the divine expressing itself as ourselves and as itself, and we call it good. And so it is.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode of The Magnetic Voice here on the Experience of the Soul podcast channel. This channel is made possible because of listeners just like you. If you would like to support the channel with your tax-deductible contribution on an ongoing basis or through a one-time gift, head over to experienceofthesoul.com/support. The Magnetic Voice is copyright 2022 Monique McDonald, all rights reserved. Our theme music is composed by Dave Kropf and used with permission. The Experience of the Soul podcast channel is a production of 818 Studios.
Hey friends, Sean here, your Experience of the Soul producer. I want to take a moment to tell you about something truly exciting. The SoulWorks online community, created by your host, Cynthia Alice Anderson, and available on the Mighty Networks app. If you're looking for a place where you can explore your spiritual path, connect with others, and grow in a meaningful way, then this is for you. SoulWorks is so much more than an online community. It's a safe, inclusive space for spiritual exploration, self-discovery, and personal transformation. Inside the community, you'll find everything from uplifting spiritual studies to soul-centered growth practices, meditations, affirmations, and so much more. It's a space where you'll always be supported and never judged. The best part, membership is free. You'll have access to powerful resources, inspiring content, and a supportive group of like-minded people who are all on their own unique spiritual journeys. And if you're ready to dive deeper, there are premium options available to enhance your experience with a live Monday night talk series and extended, deeper meditations. If you're seeking a place to connect, grow, and nurture your soul, we would love to have you join us in the SoulWorks community and see where this journey can take you. Visit my.soulworkscommunity.com today.